Well, Razorback fans, it's a What If Wednesday, and I'm going to have to do this because so many of you requested it. What if Arkansas wins 10 games? All right. Well, let's talk about today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I'm also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Wednesday. And as a reminder, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. What a time, really. You know, this lull in sports for Arkansas and for college and everything like that. Fall camp starts up here in a couple of weeks, but we will talk a little basketball and something that Cal said, but also something that ESPN and SportsCenter did and put together that I thought was pretty interesting as far as the greatest athletes to ever come out of the state of Arkansas. But I wanted to begin today in something that I don't really believe, and I was kind of not really overly willing and wanting to dive into something like this. But I think it's necessary because a lot of you requested this. I think that when I did the What If Wednesday scenarios, this one was requested maybe the most and has here recently. And I guess after some comments that were made by somebody on social media with some video about Arkansas and, what if they win 10 games? What if you're all wrong about them and they actually end up being really good? It's possible. It could happen. Well, that's what I'm here for, to discuss it. So first off, as I say every single time when it comes to these What If Wednesdays, I am not in any way, shape, or form saying that Arkansas is going to win 10 games. Okay? I'm not predicting it. I'm not predicting they're going to get close to winning 10 games this season. But that's the thing about sports is you see a lot of unexpected things happen. You see a lot of craziness and chaos that can ensue over anything, really, at any point in time. And so for Arkansas, this upcoming season, for them to get to that point, it would take the greatest and most incredible coaching job that has ever been done by a coach. It would take the most healthiest, non-banged up team of all time. And it would take the most diamonds in the rough that have ever been discovered on one single football team. All those things, plus a lot of luck to go your way. Simple as that. And if Arkansas was able to find themselves in a scenario where they could win 10 games, then it would certainly change everything. And when I mean everything, I don't mean simply, it'd just be a cool little thing to have happen and it'd give so-and-so a raise. And maybe this quarterback would have some sort of great remembrance and whenever he left Arkansas. No, nothing like that. I'm not talking about those types of changes. I'm talking about everything from top to bottom, the program. I may talk about this more specifically here soon, but there was some news that came out yesterday about the NIL and collectives, because remember everything was going to be about no more NIL deals. It's no more collectives. It's got to be about revenue sharing. And now it looks like it's not going to be the case, that collectives are here and they're here to stay. Gee, who would have seen that coming? Gee, who kept thinking that was going to be a thing? It's almost, man, I hate being right sometimes. Point is that that's an element of a program that has belief in it. And people are going to try to find in other programs, if you have that success, they're going to pour in money to whatever collective, whatever foundation, whatever it is necessary in order to maintain that success. If Arkansas was able to pull off that 10-win season, it solidifies Sam Pittman at Arkansas for at least a few more years. It solidifies his coaching staff. It solidifies the approach that they've had. And it even would solidify Hunter Yurachek. And I don't know if he still wants to be here or not, But it would solidify that at least for the foreseeable future. So all these things together, it makes it to where a lot of people, myself included, who have been highly critical and very much upset with the current way of things, I would have to eat some crow. I have to shut up. I'd have to say, hey, I was wrong. But the thing is I am never, ever going to be too proud to say that I was wrong about something. Because you all know, I am not big on this team this season. When I went to media days, I picked them to finish about 13th. I feel like they're going to be a team that fails to make a bowl game, fails to get to 6 wins. I'm hoping I'm wrong, though. And guess what? If I am wrong, I will gladly admit it. And if I am so wrong and so off base by this team winning 10 games, then you don't have to listen to me ever again. I didn't have no idea what I'm talking about. But I'll be happy about it. I'll be thrilled about it. I'll have no issues. I will just give it up to Sam Pittman, all the credit and the praise in the world. Be like, my goodness, my man, I could not have been more wrong about you. Please forgive me. Please forgive me of all my intolerance and my stupidity when it came to figuring you out. Please, because I'm a moron and you are a great coach. Like, it would be that level of a change in everything. And honestly, it would really make you think about the future of like, okay, is this a sustainable thing or is this just a flash in the pan? Because college football and college athletics is ever changing all the time. But would it be something that is maintainable? Like, you can just sit there and year after year say, hey, well, as long as you got this coaching staff in place, as long as you got this culture, this vibe, this mentality, you'll be okay. And then it really opens things up. It'd be like, okay, well, the diamonds in the rough, those guys that were blue light specials, as they're called, or discount players, that money ball players, however you want to put it, then suddenly you start to believe, okay, well, hey, you can do it again, right? It's a formula. This coaching staff was ahead of the curve and they were ahead of the game. You just change your mind on all of it. You know, it's like an old segment of change my mind. Well, that changes your mind. It changes your mind. But what it also does, and I think this might be the most important thing of what it does and what happens if Arkansas won 10 games. Because the obvious thing is we're all excited and pumped and we're loving it and giving credit where credit is due to who it's due to. But it really puts everything kind of upside down here in Arkansas, but in the SEC too. Imagine if Arkansas was a 10-2 team. Imagine if Arkansas made the college football playoff in this year. It's not going to happen. Again, I'm talking crazy over here. I'm as crazy as my hair right now. I need a haircut. But, like, it would turn everything upside down. It would break brains. The college football playoff committee wouldn't know whether they're crap or go blind, so they have to close one eye and poot. Like, they wouldn't know what to do because that doesn't make sense. It just doesn't compute. Arkansas being this team? Come on now. This is supposed to be Texas and Georgia and Bama and LSU and Arkansas. What happened? Who died? Did somebody get put on probation? Like, how does this make sense? It would break people. And when you break people, chaos ensues. I believe there would be ways to be found by the College Football Playoff Committee or anybody involved to try to keep Arkansas from being that team to get into the playoff. They'd be like, well, I know we said 10-2 SEC teams normally will get into the playoffs, but I mean, come on, it's Arkansas. I mean, what do you want us to do? I mean, you want us just to put them in there because they went 10-2? I mean, come on, it doesn't make sense. But you wouldn't be able to blame it on anything as far as scheduling and everything goes because Arkansas has one of the most difficult schedules in the country. And you're talking about 2 losses. So say if those 2 losses were to Texas and Notre Dame, or Texas and LSU, whoever, that just makes you an automatic. Like, you have to get in there. You have to get into the playoff. But people would find barriers and try to find ways to keep you out. So it would just turn everybody's mind into mush. And as Razorback fans, you would feel like you were living in a fantasy world. This dreamland that you have always wanted You've always wanted to compete at a high level in football. You always wanted to have a great football program, a great football team. And you dreamed one day of having one chance to play for a national championship, or at least get close to it. And as long as you get into the playoffs, you're there. You're in it. You're close. It just wouldn't make sense. How could we have all been so wrong about something? Well, because it hasn't happened yet. But the one thing that you and I and all of us would do, that if they ended up doing that, is gladly admit that we were wrong. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. And that's my whole point in this whole segment, folks. It's not about being right for me. In fact, if you go to my Twitter X profile and all my profiles, my motto up there is, I don't have to be right, I just have to be interesting. That's kind of a motto I've lived by when it came to my broadcasting career. Shout out to Colin Cowherd, I got it from him. Great quote. But it's true. And it comes the same way with our teams that we root for. We want to be right when we think they're going to be good. But we will gladly be wrong if it means they're going to be good. That's the only thing that matters. Sure, there may be some fans out there that if Arkansas went 10-2 and they were hating Sam Pittman and hated the team and didn't want him to win, they'd have sour grapes and maybe not say anything, just be like, it was a fluke. Sure. But at the end of the day, nobody should be rooting for failure. You shouldn't be rooting for average. You shouldn't be rooting for just scraping by. You shouldn't expect it. You shouldn't settle for it. You shouldn't just deal with it. But what you should do is enjoy it. Enjoy being good, regardless if you're right or wrong about a team. Because if you're right, hey, you knew a lot more than me and everybody else. And if you were wrong, man, you knew the same thing about us. You knew the same thing about the team. It's all the same. I just want to win. That's all that matters. 10 wins, though? Man, I'll do some crazy things if that happens. I may buzz this crazy haircut that I have going on. Maybe I'd do that, but still. Speaking of crazy, let's talk about John Calipari. Some of the comments he's making about this Arkansas and Duke game. Pretty wild stuff. We'll get to that. So stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, I am here to tell you about our friends over at Game Time. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with the friends or with the family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize that you want to be in the stands. Well, that's exactly what your Game Time can come in to play. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. And with the money that you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come along with you. Game Time makes that possible. Game Time makes ticket buying fast and simple with the prices on the app that drop closer as you get closer to the first pitch or for a tip-off or for the opening kick. And they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and the lowest price guaranteed that takes the worry out of buying. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On Major League Baseball and also Major League Baseball itself. And we know that a lot of you are going to be trying to make some games this summer. Take the kids, take the family, some of those games. Or maybe you're going to be getting ready for the Razorback football games that are going to be upcoming. Well, use Game Time. Use the Game Time app and get it done. And take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create a code and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. John Calipari, my man, he's wildin'. He's a wild dude, but I love the guy. Fascinating. You know, we talk about being interesting. He's got that. Well, anytime he opens his mouth and speaks, there's always going to be some sort of interest from me and from so many of you and Razorback fans. But he went on the John Rothstein podcast here recently. And he mentioned that Arkansas and Duke basketball game coming up this Thanksgiving. I remember when it was announced, it was incredible. I was like, oh man, the John Calipari impact. Cal effect, man. Crazy how that goes. And I just was upset at first, too, because it was Thanksgiving, and most of us have a Thanksgiving holiday to go to. But still, it's a high-profile game. It's going to have a lot of high-profile players. And Cal is over here. They didn't just bring it up this time. He's been saying it a few times. He thinks it's going to be the highest-rated college basketball game in a decade. In a decade. The highest-rated college basketball regular season game. Sorry, I should make sure I clarify. Regular season game in a decade. Now, that seems pretty absurd. Or bold. One of the two. But is it possible? And the answer to that, honestly, yeah. Because the Arkansas-Illinois game this past Thanksgiving was a highly rated game on a regular season game. And you're like, well, why is that? It was just Arkansas and Illinois. Well, because it's on Thanksgiving. And what are people doing on Thanksgiving? Not going to games. They're watching games. They're watching TV. They're watching the NFL games, of course. But college basketball, if you're a Razorback fan, be honest. On Thanksgiving, if you're not going to go to the Arkansas-Duke game, understandable. But what are you going to be doing no matter what? You're going to be watching that game. So you as a Razorback fan are going to do it. I promise you Duke fans are going to be doing it, which Duke has a very massive fan base. I don't know if y'all heard or saw. Massive fan base across the country. So that's already big. But if you're just the casual, average watcher and one to watch sports, you're going to tune into that because it's on CBS. Which is also nice because, the SEC is not on CBS. So you'll actually be able to hear the... You get to hear that. It's going to make everyone excited and happy, with the NFL game on top of it. So the point is like, as crazy as I felt like he was acting and saying that, yeah, this is going to be one of the most watched games in regular season in the decade. Yeah, it might be, actually. Might be. But what does it matter to you? Does it matter at all? Well, maybe not to the results on the court. You want to win. But it does really indicate, assuming that Arkansas and Duke ends up being the highest rated regular season game in a decade, what does that tell you? It tells you you're playing Duke. It tells you that you're in a marquee game. It tells you you're playing on Thanksgiving. But isn't this what this is all about? Isn't this what we've yearned for, this type of feeling as Razorback fans? Attention. Respectful attention. To be able to be given the opportunities to play in marquee matchups, not because the other team has to, but because they chose to. Because they know going up against you is going to give them something. Win or lose, they're willing to roll the dice and lose to you because of how much it'll mean. And what it could still do just playing in that game. That's a great feeling. And it's not the little old Arkansas mentality. It's Calipari. It's Cal. I'm not stupid enough to think it's not. But as I've said many times before, no matter what sport it is, no matter where someone's from, if they're from the state of Arkansas or not, no matter what they did before, from another big school or not. Like, it doesn't matter. If you win a national championship and you're wearing that Razorback logo, I don't care. I do not care what your backstory is. I don't care what your, did you say something bad about a Razorback one time? Or I don't care about any of that. I care about winning. And it's going to be the same thing with Cal. Everyone... Anyway, Kentucky fans try to be like, oh, well, it's not you, it's Cal. So what? He's wearing my logo. He's representing my school and my team. I do not care if it's Cal or not. It's Arkansas. I'm fine with it. When Cal leaves, Arkansas may not have the same pub as they would whenever Cal calls it quits and retires. It's the way it is. But I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to utilize it, and I'm going to have a good time doing it. I can't wait. The greatest athletes out of the state of Arkansas. SportsCenter did a little thing on that. I thought it was interesting. So let's talk about it coming up next in the final segment of Locked On Razorbacks. All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. So SportsCenter came out with a tour of the United States. They've been going to these different states and basically, okay, they're bored. Sports are boring right now. So they're trying to find different things. And it's cool. It's cool. And they went to Arkansas. And one of the things that I appreciate is, just being honest about it and talking about it and talking about it in a very nice way, nice promotion. But what was funny is that they went into Bentonville and talked about it being the mountain biking capital of the world, which news to me. If anybody else knows that, I don't. That's shocking to me. So, okay. Whatever. But they talked about some of the greatest athletes to come from the state of Arkansas, not just to play for the Razorbacks, but ones that just came from the state of Arkansas. And it was a pretty impressive list. I mean, the one that was going to stand out, might be the most famous, is Scotty Pippen. I mean, the guy's 6-time national champion. Or NBA champion. He's a Hall of Famer, Olympic gold medalist, and was crucial in part of the success of Michael Jordan. So, yeah, you're going to get a little pub there. But they also mentioned people like Torrey Hunter, baseball player, phenomenal. John Daly, of course, the GOAT. Darren McFadden was mentioned in that. Derek Fisher, another one. They mentioned Mark Martin and what he did in NASCAR and everything. So it's just cool to see some of the recognition come along. But it was really a bummer to me that of all the players that they mentioned, which, they're not going to get everybody, but man, how do you not mention Joe Johnson? And Joe Johnson arguably had the greatest NBA career of any Razorback, for sure. Well, maybe not for sure. I think him and Sidney Moncrief are at least in the conversation, but Joe Johnson's 7-time All-Star. Not bad. Max contracts and everything. He didn't get mentioned. Sidney Moncrief didn't get mentioned. Don't really know how that happened. There's a few others that didn't get mentioned too, but I'm not going to make arguments for them. But the point is, it's always a great reminder, of how many players and how many great athletes are able to come from the state of Arkansas, but also really funny because it reminds me just how many of them didn't play for the Razorbacks for whatever reason. Maybe they came straight out of high school, or maybe they just, went to UCA or UALR or whatever it is. I think about like Austin Reeves. He's doing great in the NBA. Didn't go to Arkansas, but there are some, probably more so now than has been before, but still a fascinating list. And I encourage everyone to go check it out. Appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at John Nabors Show for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. We'll keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. See you then.